So welcome. I want to welcome you, Judy. Thank you very much for joining. And, the idea of this is just to share the PSYCH-K journey. So,
Right.
well, let's just start off. I mean, the people listening to this may not be fully aware of PSYCH-K. So how do you define or describe PSYCH-K?
I define it as a process that is designed to allow people to change their subconscious beliefs.
Beautiful, beautiful, good. And personally, what have you transformed? Whether that's physically, emotionally, spiritually, etc. What have you experienced?
Gosh, I've been doing this since 2011. and so I've had, quite a few years of opportunity for transforming things with myself. Haven't gotten to the bottom of the list yet.
You're still alive, so that's
Still alive, yeah. So there's always something that pops up. One thing I use it for regularly is whenever you get that little kind of an anxious feeling about something, you might not even know what it's about. I don't need to. And so I'll transform that so that that's not getting in my way of figuring out what I want to respond to, and how I want to respond. So I do that all the time. One of the best examples of when I used that, though, was when I first started my business and I moved to Florida, and it was new with the networking, and I was in some meeting and a woman said, "What you do sounds really interesting. I'd like to put you on my internet show." And, my mind was going, "Absolutely, that sounds great." And my body was going, "That sounds terrifying." So I said, "Well, of course, that would be wonderful." And then, we picked a time and a date, and I did the PSYCH-K balances. I had not been comfortable speaking in front of people before that, and so the idea of being on a camera was terrifying, really. But I went home and I worked on whatever came up, and I was all ready when I went into when I drove over there. As I was driving over, I noticed there was some little piece of something nagging at the back of me. So before I went into the building, I took care of that. I went in, there were 6 different cameras set up, all live feeds. One of them was I don't even know what it was called, but it was something where if people paid money right there, they could interrupt the show and ask any question they wanted, and you had to respond right there.
Ooh.
I was so glad that I had been able to work on all this beforehand. It went beautifully. It was fun. I enjoyed it. I looked at it later. I didn't look ridiculous. But I would have been a mess, really, if I hadn't had PSYCH-K.
Right. Beautiful. What a great example. Yeah, the ability to transform anxiety or stress, whether that's from the past or present, or projecting into the future, is phenomenal in the work of PSYCH-K. And I love what you shared, that one of the first things you said is, I didn't even know what the anxiety was about. And sometimes people perceive that we have to talk things out, and we have to figure everything out, and we have to understand it. And yes, that's beneficial. But there are times when you just have a feeling. And so I love that we can transform a feeling without having to have all the mental figuring out. So, yeah.
That helps with my clients, too, particularly with trauma people, where you don't want to re-aggravate the trauma.
Exactly.
And it's really a gentle way of helping people with some of the reactions they have.
It is. And often they're nervous about moving into it because of all the other experiences they may have had, or they've never wanted to open up that box. And it's very gentle, and it only goes as fast as that person's ready to go. So, yeah, beautiful. So when you think back to 2011, when you started into PSYCH-K, what were some doubts or questions that you've had moving into it, and or people that you've worked with that have had doubts and questions? So, the people watching this might have some doubts or questions. So what are some of the things that either you experienced or you've heard from others?
Well, when I took my first basic workshop, which was with you, already knew it worked.
Right.
You know, I had a lot of exposure to it before I took the workshop. I was really excited about it, wanted to do it. My biggest question was it going to work for me? You know, I saw that it worked when some other people did it, but I wasn't confident that I would be able to have the same results. So that was my concern.
Yeah.
Going in.
Right. Beautiful. And I think that is true for a lot of people, you know, and part of the thing that we do in that basic workshop, that first entry-level workshop, are those first 11 statements, and one of them is PSYCH-K works for me. Because it's such a common concern is that, well, everything works for other people, but it doesn't work for me. And if we have that belief, then guess what? It won't. So that's one of the first things we actually invite people to look at and to address. So I love that that was your concern coming in. Is there anything that you've heard, you know, with your private clients, their doubts or concerns? Anything?
Just about having an experience with it? Or?
Yeah.
Yeah, well, it's a wide range of reactions. Some people have heard about it before, so they know what they have signed up for the session. Other people don't really know, so it's a question mark over their head. In the beginning, I seemed to attract more clients that were very skeptical. I've fine-tuned who's coming to me now. And so the people are more open and more willing to just see what it's about. But the biggest thing that it's not going into it, it's the results. One of the common things I hear is it can't be that easy.
Right. Yes.
And it's like, yeah, it can.
Right. Are you willing to allow it to be that easy?
Right.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I agree. And I think part of that is because we've, done so much hard work, and we have this connection to if I don't work hard, it's not valuable. Or if it's too easy, then it's unvaluable. So I think that's a beautiful thing that a lot of people question, because when you hear it or just experience it, it is simple and it is easy and it is fun to shift something that you've held forever, whatever that term is for you time-wise. But it allows you to shift, and it does seem too easy to be real. Yeah, and yet we know the results. So.
Well, we do, and it's reliable. It really you can count on these changes. But when they just are amazed sometimes. One, that it can be fun, like you mentioned. That's come up a lot recently with clients. Of, wow, it was fun too. Correct.
Yeah. Good. Absolutely beautiful. And what have you found, if anything, what have you found challenging regarding PSYCH-K?
Yeah. Well, I guess my biggest challenge over the years, and I've gotten much better at it over time, but still sometimes a challenge, is restraining myself from pointing out a self-limiting belief or being too eager to help somebody change something that they're struggling with, because that's something they need to want.
Right.
And
right.
You want to go help people. I mean, I think most people want to just help people have an easier time of whatever.
Yeah.
And you got to listen and watch and make sure it's on their timeline.
Right, I know. We get so enthusiastic, and we're trained to hear the limiting beliefs, and they pop out of people's mouths all the time. And I agree, you have to kind of bite your tongue and invite them to explore another way. And even if you invite it, you open it up, and they say no, we have to be okay with that. So sometimes it's our own balancing, our own transformation around. It's okay for people to be on their own path, to accept that they are on their path, and we can't interrupt the way they do things. So.
Yeah, and it's not just restraining myself. I have learned over time that some well-meaning people have wanted their loved ones to be clients. And it's the same thing. They can see that something might need to change. It needs to be the person who wants to do it.
It does, absolutely. I agree. So is there anything else you'd like to share just in general around your experience or a story maybe of someone that, you know, another success story? People always love success stories. So.
Sure. I really enjoy, it's not the bulk of who I see, but phobias are fun for me because I haven't personally had a client that took full session time for that. Usually we can do the phobia and do something else they want to change too.
Right.
And I had this one woman who recently came in, and she came in for a business reason, but we ended up on a bee phobia. And she had, it was like, she's allergic. She has an EpiPen, and it was just something that was always shadowing her. And so we worked on the phobia. And she was so excited when we talked another time later, and she said she was spending all this time outside that she hadn't been doing before. And the thing that struck me the funniest, she's a golfer. And somewhere early in her life, she had heard that bright colors attract bees. And she hadn't intentionally bought clothes along those lines, but about a month after she had that session with the bee phobia, she looked in her closet, and she had bought all these bright colored golf shirts. It wasn't intentional, but it was like, somehow she was trying to hide from the bees, and now it was okay to be seen. And I love that.
That's awesome. That's just the freedom for her to do that, and that she didn't even realize she was consciously choosing new clothes. So yeah, that's an example where the subconscious shifted, and all of a sudden the desire that's been there to have bright clothes on the golf course is naturally allowed. That's awesome. That's beautiful.
I know.
So just in closing, you do private sessions.
I do.
And so would you like to give your website out? And if people want to connect with you, would you like to
I would love
share
to,
that?
yeah. Okay. It's www.alignedconsciousness, ALIGNED consciousness.com. And I do the private sessions. I work with coaches. A lot of coaches send clients to me to help remove a block, and then they go back into coaching programs. And I also have workshops for business alignment. So, yeah, I do all those things. It's all virtual. And I have free 15-minute phone consults if anybody wants to ask more questions.
Beautiful, beautiful. And just to clarify, the workshop is around creating their mission and vision and their alignment, and then you do private sessions from that. Yeah. Good. Awesome. All right. Thank you, Judy, very much. I look forward to connecting with you soon. All right.